Hey guys, welcome back for another video. We got a fun one prepared today. This weekend is the SEC matchup. The winner of that game is not just going to win the SEC, but they're going to make the playoffs. More importantly, they're going to be getting the bye week first round of the playoffs. We're going to completely break down the matchup between the Georgia Bulldogs and the Texas Longhorns, trying to predict the outcome, who's going to win, who's going to lose, what the final score will be. We'll also touch on the best bets, the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Every week, we go over every single college football game, the top 25 ones, the non-top 25 ones, and we also break down all of the NFL matchups. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can follow along with us. So we have the two big conferences, the two real true Power 5, the Big Ten and the SEC, battling over for who's going to be the top conference in all of college football. But we have the SEC championship coming up. We have the newcomers to the SEC, the Texas Longhorns, coming in there as one of the top teams in the nation, playing the SEC stalwart, the Georgia Bulldogs. This game is going to be on ABC at 4 p.m. this Saturday, December 7th. Georgia, right now, the new poll comes out tonight, so obviously they're going to be moving up, but as of right now, they're number 7. They are 10-2. They'll be playing number 3, Texas Longhorns, 11-1. That lone loss was to Georgia earlier this season. They're probably going to be sliding up to number 2 when the new poll comes out tonight. But as of right now, Texas has a 61.5% chance to win this game. They are 2.5-point favorites. The over here is 48.5. Texas, you lost to Georgia early. Can you rebound, split it with them this season, win the SEC, your first year in the SEC? It also shows, give some respect to the Big 12 here. This is their first year in the conference, and they're up to potentially win it right now. They're actually favored to win it. I did pick Texas to go 11-1 preseason and win the SEC this season, so I'm still going to potentially be giving them the edge here, but Georgia beat the crap out of Texas that first game this season. Let's not underestimate that, but Georgia's coming off of a very questionable game, the 8 overtime matchup versus Georgia Tech. That doesn't have anything to do with this game, though. Never apologize for a win. They won it. That's all that matters. No matter what, both of these teams are going to be making the playoffs right now. But Georgia, you've had some high highs this season. You've had some low lows this season. You want to be going into the playoffs riding hot, all cylinders, the offense cruising right now. As of right now, Georgia, you're obviously going to be led by Carson Beck. He's having a pretty decent season so far this year, but the big thing is he needs to cut down on those turnovers. That's going to be the key to this game. The Texas Longhorns defense is going to be in his face. They're going to be in his face a lot, try to hit him often. Right now, Texas, they have a top 5 defense. They're top 10 in tackles for a loss. They're top 10 in sacks. They're top 10 in quarterback pressures. They're going to try to pressure Carson Beck, try to see if they can force him into some turnovers, into making some mistakes, but that's going to be easier said than done. Georgia's been very, very pass heavy this season. You got to cut down on the passes. They still need to generate a consistent run game. That's one thing that Georgia's gotten away from this season, is they're very pass heavy, and that's led to a lot of turnovers. If they can get the offensive line to have a great game here, and they can get some push on the line, open up the run game, which is going to open up the play action. Right now, Carson Beck closing in on 3,500 yards, 28 touchdowns, 12 picks. That's not even counting the fumbles. The guy does have quite a few fumbles this season. They're averaging 34.1 points a game. They're throwing for 308. They're only running for 128.1 yards per game. That's probably the lowest Georgia rush total I've seen in the last 1 or 2 decades right now. They got to get that number up. They're giving up 20.5 points a game. That is statistically the worst defense for Georgia in probably the last 2 decades. That's not bad for your normal Georgia team, but Georgia's used to being sub 15 on their points given up per game. Yes, it's good enough to get in the playoffs, but the competition's getting a lot steeper right now. You're going to be playing better offenses that can consistently move the ball. We're going to have to see a better performance out of that defense. You have Frazier, you have Smith, but someone has to step up in the running back room, and they also need a legitimate wide receiver number 1 to step up right now. For Texas has one of the most cake schedules. Their first year in the SEC, they basically almost played absolutely no one. Still found a way to lose to the Georgia Bulldogs, but as of right now, they have no wins versus top 25 teams. Yes, the Aggies are currently ranked, but they just lost. The new poll hasn't come out. They're probably going to drop out of the top 25, which will leave them with no top 25 wins. So they haven't really been tested this season. Quinn Ewers is still banged up. He's been pretty much banged up the whole season. He's closing in on 2,400 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 picks. What's his true status here? He will be playing, but are we going to get 100% Quinn Ewers, or will he be limited? Will it be 85 to 90%? Right now, they're averaging 34.8. throwing for 286.4, running for 175.5, a very balanced offense. They're averaging about 460 to 470 offensive yards every game, but they're only giving up 11.7. That is the number 2 national defense, number 2 in the entire nation. Yes, they played virtually no one, but they have the number 2 defense. You cannot scoff at that. That's why I said Georgia, they haven't really been fully tested in a while on the defensive line. The last time that was when they played Ole Miss, and Ole Miss's defensive line, their pass rush, which is probably the best in the nation, was able to eat alive that game. They were all over Carson Beck, forced a lot of turnovers. They completely dominated that game. This game, again, is going to be decided at the line of scrimmage. Texas, they have Wisner, they have Helm, they have a healthy Bond right now. Don't underestimate Bond stretching the field, and Texas's run game, they've been pretty banged up in the running back room, but they're very deep there. But it's going to come down to that defensive line versus Georgia's offensive line, which used to be their strength. It's average this season. They're still getting some push, but you're going to have to get more than that versus this Texas Longhorns defensive front. It's very hard to beat a good team twice in one season. Georgia's more than capable of doing it. They have the number 2 overall roster according to ESPN. Texas comes in at number 4. So they're both virtually tied there. Who's going to out-dominate each team at the line of scrimmage? This game is going to be decided in the trenches. It's going to be straight trench warfare. To me, old-style SEC football. That's what this game is going to revert back to. The running game and the offensive line versus the defensive line matchups. Looking at the spreads, like I said, Texas comes in here a 2.5-point favorite. That over-under was 48.5. They have a 61.5% chance doing this game. I have Texas getting some revenge, winning the SEC, their first season in the SEC. They win it. They get the bye. They win this game 33-24. I think it's going to be very close up to halftime, but I think Texas starts to pull away late third, early fourth quarter, and it's the defensive line that starts to wear out Georgia, and they start to get some turnovers, and they take advantage of Georgia's depth second half, not knocking Georgia's roster, very talented roster, more than capable of winning the national championship. But that performance versus Georgia Tech, to me, and the fact they beat the Longhorns so bad that first game, to me, Texas is due to win the second matchup. They know what they did wrong. I have Texas winning this one, making the SEC, winning the SEC, making the playoffs as the SEC champion, getting the bye week. But no matter what, both teams make the playoffs. And once the playoff starts, to me, that completely wipes the regular season out. It's a completely brand new start, and it's going to be completely up for grabs. But that's our prediction. That's our picks and our best bets for our Georgia versus Texas matchup. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Thanks.